Hey, hey, hey. Today I want to talk about something that I've implemented in my life um, as a process of being able to control myself, being able to apply discipline in my own life, being able to connect with myself versus correcting myself. Because I grew up with the word discipline being like at the forefront. You know, you need to be disciplined, you need to control yourself, you need to learn how to do this, not that. And I grew up the baby of three girls, and we all received spankings. My oldest sister probably got the most. I had the second most. My middle sister probably not so much. She was the peacemaker and pretty chill. But I say that to say I realized, and this is something I had to talk to myself about just some years back, not too long ago. The spankings, because I used to get a lot of spankings bare on my butt with a belt. And I remember my dad used to say, you know, this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you. God loves you, and so do I. And I believe he really meant that from his place of awareness, his perspective. But me, as I stand today, I wanted to learn how to discipline my children from a place of authentic, I would say, love that serves them in a way that will help them in the future. I really wanted to connect with them and not correct them, so to speak. I really wanted to empower them, and this is not the absence of punishment or restrictions, but there's a quote that says the bow that is too tightly strung is easily broken. The bow too tightly strung is easily broken. And I believe that brokenness is not only broken in that string may pop, but broken and it can break your spirit. And we're not here to break spirits. I remember growing up, it was told like, we're going to break your spirit. And I fought so long and so hard to keep my spirit alive. I don't want to break my children's spirit. I don't want anyone's spirit to be broken. So if you've lived in a space where your spirit has tried to be broken, hopefully this conversation will help you to keep your spirit alive, because I fought for a very long time to keep my spirit alive, and that's why I stand here before you today. And I want to share this principle with you that I've actually started in 2006 in my classroom with my students, because again, my students was my first place to parent. Well, actually, no, it wasn't. I had young cousins that I used to get and keep and take and do things with all the time, but I just always have been around children well before I had them. I was married 10 years before I had children, but one of the most important, I knew, decisions that I would ever make in my life is not only having children. I believe that's the most important decision, honestly, and then who you have them by, but having children, because that's the highest responsibility we'll ever have, is to take care and be responsible for another life. And I realize when we look around at the environment, the condition of people, I personally believe it starts with parenting. That's just me. So I want to go to this concept that has grounded me. It will work in your classroom. It'll work in the boardroom. It will work in your business. It will work wherever you are in life. I believe this. So it's this concept of rules. So I created an acronym, and I had this hanging up in my classroom. Typically a traditional classroom, I know for me growing up, you come in, is do this, don't do this, raise your hand here, don't. And I never had to do that with my students. I never did. I never put them in this place where they came in my class and felt restricted. I wanted them to feel free. And something no one ever tells you is that discipline is the highest form of freedom and self-love. When we can discipline ourselves, we have the freedom to do a lot more than we ever would think. And that's just the concept I learned to practice, a principle I still practice today, because we're taught that, if you discipline people from a correction place, they're going to be in line, they're going to do it. Yeah, that's a place of control. We have robots, we have people just doing things out of, fear, not faith, not full essence of self, and most importantly, not out of a place of love. Love grows, love blooms, love creates fruit. It's abundant. So what I believe, this is a very simple acronym I'm going to share with you today, is rules. Rules. And the R stands for respect. If we can think about life as I promise you, this is something you can anchor your soul in. I had it hanging in my classroom, but I just applied it to my life. I think about in my home, just my dynamics of how I want to be. And again, this is for you. You know, if you're new to this channel, my name is Janville, and I'm all about personal development education, working with empowered women who lead a life of love. And love rises, it heals ourselves, our families, and our communities. I truly believe that. And so respect goes a very long way. In my classroom, I wanted my students to not only respect the other students, but I empowered my students to respect themselves. Because when we can respect ourselves, that's how we can respect others. There is no way to respect someone from a... You can't respect other people if you don't have that respect. It's going to be surface. It's going to be fleeting. It is not going to be sustainable. That's another thing about life. Yeah, there are things that work, but we're talking about sustainable. You know, when my mentor, she says, you know, practice. I used to always say practice makes progress, but she says practice, E.R. Spalding, makes permanent. And I love that because that's what I've always been about. I'm not looking for chewing bubble gum. I want something lasting that can help build self-confidence in who we are as individuals, strong families, and healthy communities. So when we can respect ourselves, ladies, when we can present ourselves, Socrates says, be as you wish to seem. When we can go out and dress how we want to be addressed. We can speak from a place of love. Emotional intelligence is a journey that I went on. I found mentorship around it because I knew that I did not know how to communicate properly. And I still work on it, you know, and communicating properly is not silencing yourself, but it is knowing how to speak. It's knowing when to speak, when it's your turn. It's knowing how to let the emotions flow through you and not to the person that as a place of attack, you know, dismissive, defensiveness. So respect, there's many places in this area, but again, this can be applied in every area of our life. If we can learn to respect ourselves, it takes us further than we can imagine. Oftentimes, again, we want to respect me. Well, first, respect yourself. I personally believe if you respect yourself, you're not going to have a problem with too many people respecting you. You just carry yourself in a way, it demands respect. It invites respect. There are good people out here. There's some broken people as well. But I believe there are more far and few between. If you carry yourself in such a way, they're going to walk right past you. They might nod their head, smile, but they're not going to try to disrespect you because you carry yourself in such a way that demands respect. The next one is U for understanding. I wanted my students to understand not only what was being taught. Of course, you come into the classroom, understand. We're here to understand what we're being taught. We're here to understand the principles of life. I was a home ec teacher. I taught personal finance. Personal finance and culinary arts were the two I taught most of my career. Then we had fashion and marketing. I love fashion merchandising, sewing. So it was just life skills, I call it meaty, the things that the students could use throughout every decade. You know, women not domesticated from a place of, but if that's what I believe is needed in the home, you know, whether you're single, married or not, women have to learn to take care of their home, men as well, but typically they're out providing, working, whatever. And women, our role is not to be domesticated, but I believe our role as a woman, period, is to understand how to take care of home. And that's just natural in us, but also we do have to be taught that, especially if we didn't experience it. So I say all that to say it's understanding. It starts with understanding, like, okay, how do I do this? What are we learning today? What are the concepts? And then taking this to what we're talking about, which is really, I'm all about self, personal development. Who are we? Know thyself. When I went on this journey, yes, I started reading and listening to, you know, for me, I think I started with everybody. I think when you start trying to figure out, like, how do I learn that Hidden Color series was out? I just started doing some things on YouTube, but it really brought me back to me, my family, because I'm really big on, we can go back years to our ancestors. That's easy to learn, but the hardest thing to learn is our parents' pain, our grandparents' history, the true essence of who we are. So I am big on having the conversations with our parents, loving our mom and dad despite what they did to us, forgiving them despite what they did or didn't do, because that's the only way we can stay true and understand who we are. We can let go of the blockages that are in our heart. We're here to rise in love, and this thing is not, it's not hard, it's just new. It's not easy, but it is simple. It's not hard, it's just new. Thank you for that. Again, E.R. Spalding. So understanding ourselves is so important. It is the essence of growth. If you don't understand the concept why you're doing something, the principles, then we need to, again, I'm going to tell you to go to values and beliefs. Okay? Students have to, when they're coming, if you're in any type of organization and leadership, and people don't know why they're doing something, they're never going to stick to the how. The why, how. Why, how. Why am I here today? What are we learning? That's why, you know, part of a teacher's evaluation, observation, when they came in, they had to have certain things on the board. Because students, people are visual, we're auditory. There's a lot of different learners, you know, kinesthetic. There's a lot of different learning styles, but most importantly, we can stick to if somebody knows why they're doing something, they'll do it because we give them the how, okay? So understand why you're here. What's your purpose? And oftentimes this can be challenging if you don't really know, but wherever you are, you have a purpose. Whatever job you're on, whatever position you're in, whatever role you have a purpose. So understand that role. What do you want to bring to it? And you can live in that. The next one is listening. We have to listen. As our grandma would tell us, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. I'm a speaker. I love to speak. That's who I am. I know that about me, although I'm not. Some people say, oh, I didn't know she speaks, because I'm not really so much, I guess, surface, or like I'm learning that understanding, like in this new area that I'm in entrepreneurship and networking. I love meeting people, but being open to, you know, bubblegum conversations, because sometimes that's what we're here for. You know, it is just a connection of just, okay, how are you? And, you know, where are you from? Those simple questions matter to people. And I think because my background, I just kind of, so many things were so surface, so bubblegum, so to me false. I went into this very space of like, if it's not real, I don't want it. And I understand that served me. But right now I'm in another season, and I want to listen. I want to be open to perspectives, to perceptions. There's this really good video I recently watched. My mentor told me to watch, and it talked about our perspective versus our perception. And not getting too far off on that, but listening to our gut. We can listen to people into a deeper level. What I'm going to take us to is our gut. So we listen with our ears here, but then we come down here to our gut. So ears, that's what our grandma tells us, but I want to get to what I'm speaking about is always going to be self, and that's our gut, our intuition. Now, this is not a place, and I've learned and just in growing and trying to really get out of my gut into the world, because our intuition, our guidance, and these things, they serve us, but they don't really serve others. And that's where the listening comes in. When we're networking, and networking not necessarily with, networking is connecting with other people. I'm reading a book, I love it, called Click by Dr. George C. Frazier, and it's talking about the power of networking on a deeper level, and that's what this really is. Really has helped me, but it's really good. But getting to soul connections, I like to call it, like soul connections. And this is not a deep space, but it's a real space. Take the mask off. Laugh. Be lighthearted. Share from who you really are. In a world of professional, you can be professional and still be pleasing to the eye. You can be professional and still be pleasing to the soul. You can be professional and still be pleasing to the ear. There's not a way to talk. There's not a way to look. But there is a way to be, and that's your true, authentic self. And that is so important when we're listening, knowing your own voice, knowing how to speak to reach who you're trying to serve, who you're called to serve, wherever you are. But listening is so powerful, because for me, I knew the voice of God, I knew the voice of my parents, but okay, Jean-Pierre, that's you? Jean-Pierre, what'd you say? Oh, we're supposed to eat this today, not that. Like understanding the power of the connection of our own voice. Even in the silence of who we are, that's a place to listen. So listening is one of the cornerstones in which I've really redefined and practice from a different lens. All right, engage. I think for my students, this was the one that I wanted most, because oftentimes students, unless you just have that really outgoing, talkative student, but in that era, usually that's the student that needs the most attention. They want to be seen, they want to be heard. And I understand that student, so I would give them leadership roles, or I give them tasks, because again, I believe rules bring people back to a place of self-governance. It brings people back to a personal discipline. It is not do this, do that. It's not to correct that student. I want them to feel heard, seen, valued, but I want them to understand there's a way to do that, not from a place of validation, but a place of appreciation of self. And so engaging looks like not always speaking, but engaging your thoughts, engaging your ideas, whether it is through speaking, whether it's through your creativity, your art ability, your artistic ability. So engaging who you are, engage your soul into this world, engage your soul into the spaces that you're in, whatever that looks like. Whatever that looks like. I'm in a space I've just been lately raising my hand back in class, and I'm just like, yeah. I mean, because for a long time I was in the position of teaching, and then I went on a journey of I've been on a phone, and now I'm like, okay, I'm learning, I'm in class, I want to speak, and I'm speaking from my soul, not speaking from, it's a new transition, I'm in a new season, I'm in a new pivot. And so I want you to be reminded, engaging. Everything that I share here, believe me, we're on this journey together. I have mentors, I have people, peers that I am inspired by, and I engage with myself every day, because engaging with myself allows me to know what I really need. If we don't engage with our own self, if we don't speak to ourselves, if we don't talk to ourselves, if we don't journal, meditate, do these things that allow us to get to know who we are, we do feel like a butterfly fluttering. We're in new spaces every other week, new conversations every other week. There's no consistency in our life, and there's no grounding. There's no grit. This is all about a growth process to connect with who we are, not correct who we are. Okay, so engage with yourself. And the last thing is safety. Oftentimes when people come into classrooms, they're thinking, oh, don't plug. I had a lot of appliances in my room because we were cooking. Don't plug that in. I never had any of those things in my class. Even with knife skills, I never had any student get cut, because we talked about consistency, awareness. This is really awareness. And for me, safe, I believe every student wanted to be heard. They wanted to feel like they can come into Ms. Dean's class and feel valued. There was no bullying at all. You can try it, but we put you in a circle and you feel like what it's like bullying. Bullying, they try it, but they stop. My class was often the place where teachers would send students that were challenging in their class to I didn't have problems with them. And I'm not saying that I was the best teacher, but I was an intentional teacher. I wanted to empower my students to be the best version of themselves. And I knew that was only through loving who they are, knowing who they are, and finding ways to connect them with themselves. And I believe this is rules of engagement. There's a book on that, a movie, Rules of Engagement. Safe. We all want to feel like we're home every day, and home is where the heart is. That's inside. We want to feel safe at night, not because we have to lock our door. That's external. Internal safety. How do you feel safe? Are you doing things that allow you to feel safe? And safety looks differently. It feels differently. But one thing that we know that it is, it feels free. Again, this is not a rigid journey, restrictive journey. It's a real one. And safety, going in spaces that allow you to feel heard, to feel valued and seen. And not from a needy space, but a real space, because we all have thoughts. We're creators. We're co-creators of our life. And in that space, it allows us to think. It allows us to share. And that feels safe for us. There's a physical safety out there, of course. If you're going through any type of domestic violence, please get help. Please. If you don't feel safe physically in areas, that is, love yourself more. You don't deserve that. But this safety is a deep connection within that roots us, that doesn't allow us to be in these spaces that try to control us, that try to manipulate us, that try to take us out of our higher version of ourselves. They want to bring us to their low space. So we can protect ourselves from those spaces by staying rooted to the love that we have within, because love is safe. Love is not a perfect journey, but it's safe, it's freeing. So this journey of discipline is all about the freedom to live in your purpose, to be fulfilled, to be in harmony with yourself. I hope this conversation helped you today, thinking about the rules: respect, understand, listen, engage, and always safety. My name is Jeanville again. Thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you here next Sunday.